Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. This talk is titled Awakening from the Cosmic Dream by Brother Padmananda.
Many years ago, when I was stationed at our Mount Washington headquarters, I had a broken rib, and broken ribs hurt. They hurt a lot. And I was talking with some of the monks about this, and one of them just got this saintly smile on his face, and he said, "It's just a dream." And I thought, maybe to you it's a dream. It's not a dream to me. It really hurts. And just saying, it's just a dream, it's not going to do very much. It may comfort us a little bit, but we have to awaken from the dream. We have to do certain things that will awaken us from this dream. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Sri Yukteswar, our guru's guru, wrote, "Just as the objects seen in our dreams are found when we awake to be insubstantial, so our waking perceptions are likewise unreal, a matter of inference only." And he goes on to say how we can learn a lot from just looking at how when we wake up from dreams at night, we realize that they aren't substantial at all. They're very unreal. And that we can see how our life here on this planet is very similar to the dreams we have at night. And we realize that they're just as insubstantial. Think of something, where were you exactly 5 years ago today? I don't remember where I was. I don't remember the dreams that I was having then. Again, this world is a dream just as the dreams at night we have are a dream. When we have a bad dream during sleep, we wake up, and for me, there's usually a moment of discomfort, and then I think, wow, that was really strange. And then I'm glad it was just a dream. Sometimes we wake up from a good dream and we realize, wow, that was just a dream. Darn, that was a good dream. The dreams are the same, the good dreams, the bad dreams. Someday we'll wake up in the same way from this dream that we're living right now. It'll be the same. We'll think, wow, that was strange. It wasn't real after all. The best part is we'll see a divine joy, a divine love that was hiding just behind the veil of this dream existence here on planet Earth. But again, we have to truly awaken, and there are ways that we can awaken. I'll talk about this. Meditation, of course, is the best way. In meditation, we have an experience of genuine peace, joy, love, and we realize that that is the reality. We realize, okay, this is the first time I'm experiencing something that feels real to me. And the more we do that, the more we dive into that, the more it becomes our reality. So meditation is the best way. I'll talk about some other ways too. Really everything in our Guru's teachings, everything we talk about here, are about awakening. So you could come any Sunday here and you'll hear things about how we awaken from this cosmic dream. But the ones I want to talk about this morning, first, the importance of really wanting to awaken. It has to be a genuine cry from the soul. We just get sick of it, either the monotony of it or the pain and suffering of it. We realize there has to be something more, and we cry out from inside, show me an answer. It may not even be a conscious cry to God. It may just be a cry, what's going on here? And I want to escape from this pain. Another thing I want to talk about is the importance of mental strength, mental aboveness, mental equilibrium. And then finally, having a context or a frame of reference that we can see all of our life's experiences in, a way that we can understand, okay, there is a divine hand behind what's going on here. So first, wanting to awaken, crying to God for help, really wanting it. Like in that chant, from this dream, Lord, will you wake me? Loving God with all our hearts is part of that, wanting God. One of the most dramatic moments in the Bible is when Jesus was being crucified. And at a certain moment, the pain became so intense for him that even he, this divine incarnation, the pain was the reality. He couldn't remember God, and he cried out, "Father, Father, why hast thou forsaken me?" And these divine incarnations, when they incarnate on earth, they go through some of the human experiences that we go through. And it's not like they're pretending or they're acting. They actually feel the pain, they forget. And one of the reasons it's planned this way is so that we can actually learn from them. If they weren't going through the pain, we knew that they were just acting, and then they came up with some solution, we would think, well, you're not going through the dream, but I am. By them going through the pain and us really knowing that, and then watching how they deal with it, how they overcome it, we can learn a lot from them. So Jesus, in that moment of his most intense suffering, how did he respond to it? He cried out to God, "Father, why have you forsaken me? Why can't I remember you?" He couldn't feel God's presence the way that he was used to feeling it for incarnations, and he just wanted that back again. Why have I lost sight of you? So notice he didn't give up. He didn't start feeling sorry for himself and why is this happening to me? He didn't just walk away from God. He doubled down and he just cried out to God even stronger. In our Guru's commentary on this passage, he describes what was happening to Jesus in that moment, what he was going through, how it can be such a great example for us. And he says that a Jesus who is both human and divine and struggles with tortures and temptations just like we do can be a great example for us and a great inspiration. So again, Jesus was actually feeling that suffering on the cross. His response was to call out to God. And from our Guru's commentary on this passage, he says, God played hide and seek with Jesus, concealed for a moment behind the pangs of Jesus' suffering. And Jesus, childlike, desiring nothing but his Father, was prompt in crying out for his Father's reassuring presence. Just as a little child led by the hand of his father in a dark forest cries out when he momentarily loses his grasp and the sight of him, so also did Jesus when he felt the guiding hand of his heavenly Father slip away in the darkness of suffering. When Jesus' agony became more intense than his awareness of God's presence within himself, he voiced his anguish. My God, why am I feeling this pain more than thy presence? Come to me immediately. So how did Jesus get to the point where his default response during that pain was to cry out to God? He'd made a deep connection to God throughout his life. He'd spent incarnations establishing this link, and so that had become his default state of consciousness. So when he went through that pain, that's what he automatically reverted to. So that's one lesson we can learn from this. The problem is that sometimes our dreams on this earth are so good, they're such good dreams, that we just can kind of cruise along and, oh, things are good. And we forget about God. So learn to cry out to God, to try to contact God in deep meditation every day. Make it a regular part of life. And then when the difficult experiences come, we'll automatically revert to crying out to God rather than complaining or giving up or feeling sorry for ourselves. The cosmic dream, it fools us into thinking that this world is real. And unfortunately, most of us need to be shaken up by some difficult experiences. It prods us into asking questions, to crying out for God. And it would sure be nice if we didn't have to go through any pain in order to awaken. Most people have to go through some difficulty to prod them to try to awaken. So we habitually cry to God from deep within, a soul cry, when things are going good, when things are going difficult for us, like Jesus did. And it doesn't have to be a dramatic outer expression or a cry to God. In fact, in the stillness of deep meditation, that is when we can make the most effective prayer and cry to God, because it's coming from our soul. It's like has this soul force behind it, and it's very quiet and very still. This is also where the calmness and interiorization that comes from meditation practice is priceless, because it gets us into that inner state where we can deeply cry to God, we can feel God's presence, and we've actually established that connection and that link with God. So what is God's response to that kind of cry? Sometimes love, joy, peace, a divine comfort. I think in some incarnation we've all cried out to God like that, and one of the greatest answers to that cry is a divine teaching like what we have here. The masters, they draw us to them, they give us a teaching of the practice of meditation and everything that we hear at the temple and we read in our Guru's teachings. That, to me, is the best answer to our cry for God that we made, because it shows us a way out, it shows us a way to awaken from the cosmic dream. So do whatever you can to just awaken that strong resolution to cry to God, to want to be free, to want to be free of this cosmic dream, to want that love and joy. There was one great saint that said, the intense desire for God realization is itself the way to it. In other words, that intense desire for God is the way to that realization of God, because when we have that intense desire, we'll do whatever it takes. We'll practice meditation, we'll live rightly, we'll do all the things that will lead us to eventually have that divine experience. I want to share a story of a time when I was in great pain and I desperately cried out to God. When I first got on the path, I lived on a farm with some other devotees, and we were about maybe 25 minutes from the nearest town. We were just way out in the boonies. And one day we were doing some brush clearing, and we'd piled the brush in one place to burn it. And I got really bad burns on my arm and my leg, and it was mostly second-degree burns. When it happened, I didn't feel any pain, and I looked at my arm and my leg, and they were pink. And I realized then that the skin was gone. And it started hurting really, really bad. And finally, I literally begged my friends to take me to the hospital, because when they looked at it, they didn't think it was too bad. And so we got in a pickup truck, and one of the other devotees drove me. Every second, the pain got worse and worse, and it was a pain that I just couldn't escape. And sometimes you can move positions or something to get away from pain, and I was just lost in this pain. And then my friend who was driving me, he started chanting, and he chanted, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. And I started chanting, and it totally changed my state of mind. I can't say that the presence of God was stronger than the pain, but it was near it. And I felt God's presence, and it made it very bearable. Why did this work? One reason was because I had already made that connection with my Guru, and so this reminded me of, okay, my Guru's here, and that helped to relieve the pain. It helped me to lift the presence of God to where it was almost equal to the pain. Another reason it worked was because I was desperate. I was in so much pain, I needed something, and that was like a lifeline that I was holding on to. Also, chanting had become a great way for me to connect with God. And so when my friend started chanting, and I started chanting, that link was already there. One of the things that this story always highlighted for me is that the value of spiritual friends. And it was because I had the spiritual friend with me that I remembered. It's why so many of you come to the temple, isn't it? And have spiritual friends, because we remind each other of what's real, of what's beyond the dream. It's why we have meditation groups all around the world. Our Guru wanted people to come together, to meditate together, to become spiritual friends so that they could be reminders for each other, to help uplift each other. So crying out for God, crying out for freedom, it's, I think, the beginning of awakening from the cosmic dream. And when we cry out to God in that way, then we draw God's response, we draw God's help, we draw the meditation sadhana that we all practice, the way that we can get out from this dream. Another of the ways that we rise above the cosmic dream, especially the more unpleasant dreams, the bad dreams, is through mental strength. When we're mentally strong and in the middle of a difficult experience, we can contact an aboveness, a poise, an inner strength that helps us to navigate through some difficult experiences. So how do we develop this mental strength? Certainly we develop by going through bad experiences. The experience that I had with being burned, looking back, it really helped me to develop a mental strength. Having to go through the pain of getting burnt, the recovery process, it took a few weeks, and during those few weeks, I was also in a lot of pain. And I realize now that I got a lot of mental strength from doing that, and I also developed a really high pain tolerance, to where since then, minor pains, which to some people might be big pain, are pretty bearable for me because I experienced such intense pain. But we can also develop mental strength day to day. That's a conscious choice by the things that we do during the day. We don't have to wait for some really difficult experience to develop mental strength. We can train ourselves to become more tolerant of hot and cold, difficult environments, not having everything have to be just right in our physical environment in order to be happy. So we can train ourselves by doing this. And in the science of yoga, this is called tapas, or self-discipline. Different methods of training the body to withstand heat and cold and so on without getting all worked up and mentally agitated about it. And our Guru says this about tapas. If practiced with discrimination and right resolve, these mortifications help the devotee to attune his body and mind to spiritual vibrations. That's interesting, isn't it? When we practice this self-discipline, it helps us to attune the body and mind to spiritual vibrations. Sign me up for that. And it sounds like a really simple way to attune to spirit. Why does it work? I think it's because we're not attuning ourselves as much to physical vibrations. When we're too reliant on things being just right in our physical environment, just the right temperature and so on, we're tuning in too much to the physical vibrations. And by learning how to rise above that, by practicing some self-discipline, we tune into spiritual vibrations, we become more reliant on an inner strength and an inner poise. Our Guru says that some form of self-discipline is necessary to transmute material desires into spiritual aspirations. So be creative in your day-to-day about this self-discipline and tapas that you practice, not needing the temperature in the room to always be just right. I like taking cold showers. It's like every day I do this thing where, okay, this is difficult, but I'm going to do it. And it can steel the mind to the point where other difficult challenges during the day become a little bit easier to deal with. Again, because we practice this self-discipline and it makes the mind stronger. The deeper practice, though, of self-discipline is internal. Being more tolerant of people that push our buttons, that's like a fantastic way to practice self-discipline. We do become mentally stronger by doing that. The greatest inner form of self-discipline is the practice of meditation. Just get ourselves into the meditation seat, and then when we start the practice, we keep bringing the mind back to our object of concentration, whether it's the breath or the feeling of God's presence inside. It's a fantastic way to discipline the mind, to actually sit and meditate and stay with it. So we realize in the end that we're stronger mentally than we thought. And we attune ourselves to spiritual vibrations. The thing about the cosmic dream, it tricks us into attuning our body and mind to physical vibrations. It locks us into thinking that the world is real, that this physical reality is the only thing. One of the best ways to develop this mental strength and become mentally stronger is willpower. Anything we can do that develops our willpower will help us to rise above our dream problems. Our guru, he often talks about having the attitude of a conqueror. And in a few places, he even expresses this in a really kind of audacious way. He says, if you have a strong will, you can overcome all difficulties. Affirm, even in the midst of trials, danger and I were born together, and I am more dangerous than danger. This is a truth you should always remember. Apply it, and you will see that it works. Don't behave like a cringing mortal being. You are a child of God. So he said, this is a truth that we should always remember, that danger and I were born together, and I'm more dangerous than danger. A relative of mine sent me something similar once in a letter. He said, don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big God is. And to paraphrase our guru, tell your problems how big you are. And we are much bigger than our problems. This cosmic dream, it can seem so real and so big and overpowering. I think one of the reasons is that it gets right in our face. And when that's all we can see, it's harder for us to see beyond it and to see beyond the veil. We think our problems are so big. I brought a penny with me. And the penny is probably so small that most of you can barely see it, or it just is this tiny little thing. But if I hold the penny right up to my eye and close the other eye, all I can see is the penny. I can't see you, I can't see anything else. It's this tiny little thing. And because it's so close to my eye, it just obliterates my vision of everything around me. And in the same way, our problems are about as big as this penny, and we just have to get the right perspective. And again, we do this meditation, becoming mentally stronger, tuning into spiritual vibrations, expanding the consciousness to where the problems here do seem about the size of that penny. A spiritual principle that's related to mental strength that can help us to awaken from the cosmic dream is mental equilibrium or even-mindedness. And this is a big part of the teaching of yoga. There's a famous college basketball coach. His name is John Wooden. He coached at UCLA, and it was the most successful college basketball program ever. And they won, I can't remember how many championships. And he would train the basketball players a lot of these principles about how to live and developing one's character, even to the point of showing them how to tie their shoes, how to tuck in their shirt. And one of the things that he taught them was, if he saw them celebrating too much when they won a championship or they won a game, he'd caution them not to celebrate way over the top. He said, if you celebrate too much when you win, then you're going to feel more pain when you lose. And there's a spiritual principle here that our guru also talks about. When he talks about this cosmic dream and how it's very similar to the good dreams and bad dreams we have at night, he says, of course, everyone prefers beautiful dreams to nightmares. I remind God of this. If we must participate in your dreams, Lord, we like beautiful dreams of health and smiles instead of nightmares of disease or mental suffering. But the trouble is, as long as you will love beautiful dreams and fear nightmares, giving reality to any dream happenings, when nightmares come, you will suffer. Therefore, the masters say, awake from both the beautiful dreams and the nightmares. So he's saying that as long as you really love the beautiful dreams, it's natural for us to like the good things that happen in life. But he's saying that as long as you love the beautiful dreams too much and you fear the bad dreams, you're going to be locked into this cosmic dream, and it's going to be much more difficult to awake. And so the masters say, awake from both the beautiful dreams and the nightmares. And of course, it's fine to celebrate our victories and our successes. We do this in the ashram. The monks, we celebrate milestones, we celebrate holidays and so on. When our guru finished paying off the mortgage for our Mount Washington headquarters, he was so happy that he had the disciples there build a bonfire, and he put the mortgage in the bonfire. And so it's fine to celebrate some things, but just keep in mind that the more you have just a craving for the good dreams and want only good dreams, and you fear the nightmares, we're just locking ourselves more and more into the cosmic dream. In other words, just don't get intoxicated with elation when the good things happen. Yeah, definitely be happy about it, celebrate, but don't get a little bit too overjoyed at it, or else you'll feel the pangs of the bad dream even more. When the Buddha became enlightened, he started walking around the nearby villages, and there was a man who met him walking down the road. And the Buddha, he was radiant after his enlightenment, and this man saw the Buddha, and he knew, okay, this isn't a normal person. And he didn't even think this was a human being. He thought this is some kind of angel or deva. And so he asked Buddha, "What are you?" And the Buddha said, "I am awake." That was all. And the masters, they're awake. And at some point we'll be able to say, "I'm awake, and I'm awake from this dream." One of the ways that the cosmic dream tricks us and gets us agitated is by awakening really strong feelings in the heart. And the heart is the center of feeling, and that's where we experience fear, anger, greed, desires, worry, worldly joy. These are things happening in the heart. And part of the process of yoga meditation is becoming inwardly very calm, and eventually the feelings in the heart become very calm. In the beginning of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he says yoga is the neutralization of the waves of feeling. And so when we meditate, the feelings in the heart become very calm. So this is one of the ways that we can awaken from the cosmic dream. Because again, the way that the dream locks us into its reality is by awakening feelings in the heart, fear, anger, and all these things. So we calm the heart in meditation, those feelings calm down, we realize, I'm okay. I don't have anything to be afraid of. And then the best part is, once those feelings calm down, then we can awaken divine feelings in the heart, feelings of love and joy and devotion. So finally, one more way that we can awaken from the cosmic dream. And this has to do with how we see the events in our life, how we see the things that happen to us. Put things in context. Try to frame things in your life in a way that helps you to see that there's a divine hand behind everything that comes, both the good dreams and the bad dreams, and that we're in the palm of that divine hand. When we see there's a divine hand behind everything, we're able to remember in the moment that, okay, I'm in a divine hand. I don't understand why this is happening, but it's part of the divine plan, and I'm being held by God. Our guru loved his mother very much, and when we read about his descriptions of her, she was saintly, just like this incredible mother. And unfortunately, she passed away while our guru was very young. And when this happened, he was distraught, he was confused, and he was just asking why. Why did this happen? And he complained to God, he cried out to God. In the end, it prodded him to seek the divine mother of all mothers. And he found God as the divine mother. And this is what he wrote about it. When she passed on, I cried and cried. I searched everywhere, but I couldn't find her. Divine Mother, I prayed, if you are here, you must answer me. Why did you make me love my mother so much and then take her away? Was it to punish and torture me? The answer came when the Cosmic Mother said, "Who gave you, Mother? Who gave you, Father? It was I who gave you your beautiful mother." When I realized it was because of God that I had such a wonderful mother, I thought, God alone holds the key to this mystery of life. And I began to search deeply within and to pray. Divine Mother answered and told me why my mother was taken away. "It is I who have watched over thee, life after life, in the tenderness of many mothers. See in my gaze the two black eyes, the lost beautiful eyes thou seekest." After I found Divine Mother, I also found my earthly mother again in the astral world and talked to her. So losing his mother, his earthly mother at such a young age, it was like a prod, a motivator for him to cry out to God, just as when Jesus was on the cross feeling that pain and forgetting God, he cried out to the Father. And so this, to me, is one of the fastest ways to awaken from the cosmic dream, is when we are going through suffering, to remember to cry out for answers, cry out to God why, and the answer eventually will come. Maybe not right away, but we'll receive some peace, some comfort. Eventually we'll realize why we had to go through some of these difficult experiences that were part of this cosmic dream. So when we convince ourselves that there's a divine plan and the end result is for our highest good, then we're able to take things in stride better. Just like when I got burnt. At the time it hurt, and even when I was going through it, I wasn't thinking along the lines of, oh yeah, this will be really good for me. But it was part of some divine plan that helped me to develop some inner strength that I wouldn't have developed otherwise. So this world is a dream. One day we'll wake up from it and we'll realize that. Just as we wake up in the morning from a good dream or a bad dream and we realize, wow, that was just a dream, it wasn't real. Again, we'll realize someday that this earth life wasn't real, but the best part is we'll also realize the love and the joy that was hiding just behind this earth life. Meditation is the ultimate way to wake up. It's in meditation that we have an actual experience of that love and joy. The strong desire to wake up is, in my opinion, one of the most important things to have. A really strong desire for God, a desire for freedom, a desire to awaken. So do whatever it takes to awaken that. That strong desire will, in the end, motivate us to do the things that are necessary, meditate and so on. Mental strength, willpower, equanimity, these put us in tune with higher vibrations. And then find a way to frame all your experiences so that you really believe and trust that there's a divine hand that's behind all your experiences. So let's close with the reading from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna said to Arjuna, "O Arjuna, the one who dwells in the bodies of all is eternally inviolable. Grieve not, therefore, for any created being." In our Guru's commentary, he says, "As the dreamer remains unchanged, even though he nightly witnesses himself participating in different dream fantasies, so the invisible soul, dreaming the bodies of many incarnations, itself remains unchanged."
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.